right, good evening, and welcome to this week's Points and Miles report on traveling on everyday spend. A lot of news out there, way beyond the headlines that I put in the thumbnail. A lot to talk about today, and look forward to sharing it all with you so that you all can be up to speed for all the Points and Miles news you need. We will just jump right on into this. As far as when we're looking at the credit card offers that are ending soon, not too much has changed since last week, but I will highlight a couple of items. We still have the Delta SkyMiles credit cards, both personal and business, available through American Express. Now, this runs all the way till April 2nd of 2025, so you have plenty of time to determine if Delta is going to be right for you, and then at what level do you want to be at, from the no annual fee card all the way to the top of the line card for the reserve, where you're getting that lounge access for Delta Sky, for the Delta Sky lounges, as well as the Centurion lounges. Then we also have the Marriott Bonvoy Business. Once again, as I mentioned before, the elevated offer is 125,000 points. It normally has 3 free nights at 50,000 points apiece. So you might be saying, why is it elevated if it's 125,000 versus 150,000? And the reason is because when you have those certificates, you are stuck as far as when you can use them, and they got to be used within a year, versus having a little bit less miles with no restrictions of when you spend it. You have to decide which one works best for you. And then for Bank of America, we still have the cards for Alaska Airlines with the companion pass as part of the sign-up bonus. The one that I don't have on here that I do want to make you all aware of is that Barclays, the Hawaiian personal credit card, there is a link going around that I will put into the description at the end of this, where it is from like being on board an Hawaiian airline, where you're getting a special landing page with a code to put in to get the 70,000 miles, but with only a single purchase, not the $1,000 that's normally required. And so just as little as a stick of gum and the annual fee, and you're good to go. I'll make sure to have a link for that in the description once again, and that is a nice touch for if you're looking to pick up Hawaiian miles, which obviously are as good as Alaska miles. And then for Chase, last week when I talked about the Southwest Rapid Rewards credit cards, the only thing I saw at that point was through a referral, one that I did not have, but I included one from Frequent Miler. Now it is just showing up on the Chase website. So it is the same deal of 30,000 points in a companion pass through February 28th of 2026 for $4,000 worth of spend in the first 3 months. So that is totally available right now on Chase's website. And I have some information there as far as the differences between the three that you can take a look at. Chase also still has the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless and the Bonvoy Bold available. The key for this, for most people, probably will end up being, normally, if you are going to seek the Ritz-Carlton card at some point down the line, you normally are getting the Bonvoy Boundless, because at least you still get the free night, and it's worth the $95 and the 100,000 points. This is a rare time where you may want to consider the Bonvoy Bold, because of the fact that you're getting 60,000 points and one free night for just $2,000 worth of spend. Hold on to that for a year, and then consider looking at the Ritz-Carlton card if you're interested. But even if you're not, and also even if you're not a person that goes to Marriott often, then that no annual fee card may also be one that works out well. And then we still have the IHG credit cards that are available with the elevated offers, as well as World of Hyatt. The United Business credit cards are also have elevated offers for the basic United Business, which is the equivalent of the Personal Explorer, and the United Club Business, which essentially is the equivalent of the personal card that gets you the United Club access. And then for Citi, we now see that the Citi Advantage Platinum Select Personal Card is back at that elevated offer of 75,000 American Airline miles for $3,500 worth of spend, but you do get 4 months to do that. We normally are used to seeing 3 and 6 months, but now we're seeing 4 months for that. And then I throw in the City Strata Premier only for the sake that why not? Mainly because of the fact that they still don't want to claim this is a normal offer, even though it probably is. But I want to include that. And then the US Bank Cash Plus, as well as the US Bank Shopper Cash card, are both with slight elevations. And we talked about the US Bank Shopper Cash card, one that even though I'm not a cashback person normally, that one does look impressive. And I did a video on that when going over the best credit cards for the month of February. And then Wells Fargo, we had last week one key card and one key card plus. Cards to look at if you're a person that normally uses Expedia, Hotels.com, and Vrbo. And I've got a couple of notes on there as far as the differences between those two. And I want to say hi to Matt. Appreciate you stopping through, Matt. Matt, as you all know, does the tidbits, providing information in the news on a constant basis. Does an excellent job, and always look forward to reading what he's got. And yeah, not bad at Barclays at all. We're going to be, unfortunately, probably not seeing that too much longer, unfortunately. And Ian, appreciate you coming on in. What he said, yeah, exactly. As far as transfer bonuses, we really don't have much. We just still have the Avianca for 15% with Amex, and then we have the Virgin Atlantic Flying Club, but that's really about it. Nothing groundbreaking for them. Now, as far as the points and miles opportunities, there are pages of this, and I've got as many links as possible that I can fit in the description page that will be there. But I'm going to just highlight a couple of items and then touch on the new ones that I've seen this week. So as far as a couple of things to point out, you've got the Alaska mileage plan, where they're selling points, not at a great number, but those Alaska miles are so versatile to be able to look at for different options. I've seen where you've got Starlux that now has a fourth city that they are using as far as going to Taiwan, which can be an excellent option, as well as a few other places. So just something as far as potentially topping off maybe an option for you if you need to be. And then I would say to take a look at Hilton Honors, 100% bonus as long as you're purchasing 5,000 points or more. Half a cent a point is pretty much on par with the value. With Hilton's expansion into different areas of graduate hotels and glamping and all, that may be something if you don't have enough points that you may be interested in looking at. And then I would end up saying, we talked about Lufthansa last week. Lufthansa is an interesting one because it's not always the great miles for you to be able to get, but we get those monthly deals like we talked about last week. And so those bundles, at least while supplies last, might be something that you might want to take a look at. And then I would end up saying we would move on to the new things for this week. So United, you have an up to 95% bonus in miles for purchasing miles. Now, it does vary. For me, I only got up to 85%. This ends on February 28th. And so it goes from 35% bonus from 5,000 to 19,000 points, miles, all the way up to 95% if it's between 45 and 102,000 miles. I do show on there what mine was, which is slightly different. So you'll have to check for yourself to see where you may fall at, but I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. And then as far as Delta, they're trying to be able to get you some MQDs to be available. So you can earn 1 MQD per dollar on hotel and car reservations through their portal. Now you do have to book by March 31st, and unfortunately it's a quick turnaround where you have to complete the reservation by April 30th. And for hotels, you will earn it only on the base rate, not the taxes or anything else that goes on with that. But if you're a person that has something that you're trying to accumulate those MQDs, may be a good option. I've gone through that portal a few times for the Delta Stay credits that come with a few of the credit cards for Delta through Amex, and I found them to be pretty competitive for when I've used the Delta Stay credit, and you can use the Delta Stay credit in relation to this as well. Preferred hotels, now they have double the I prefer points. Now you do have to register for this by March 31st and make sure it's before any stays. Unfortunately, this is a pretty quick turnaround as well, since the stays must be completed by April 30th. Members normally get 10 points per dollar. Now it would go to 20 points per dollar. I will have the link for the registration in the description. And then Choice Hotels, we have double reward points. Once again, registration is required. I'll have the link for that. Now, your qualifying stays must be completed by April 7th. Now, this promotion, though, is unlimited. Members normally get 10x on this as well per dollar. So if you have some Choice Hotel stays coming up, you might want to make sure looking at this. But once again, you do need to register first. Then we have Aegean and Olympic Air. Now, for people that are on this side of the Atlantic, this is not an airline that flies across the Atlantic. So, but I do want to raise it because just in case if you might be near Greece or Europe in the near future, this could be a really nice deal. It's a 2-for-1 sale. You do have to book by tomorrow at 4:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you book a round trip or a one-way ticket on Aegean or Olympic Air, you can get the second ticket for just the taxes. Now, you do have to use the promo code, and it's Love on Board, of course, for Valentine's Day. Now, the eligible travel period is March 5th through April 10th, and then May 1st through May 31st. You do need to, I believe they do have a few blackout dates, but I will have a link for the landing page so that you can see if it may be something that could be of help. Then we have Avianca, where it now has up to 160% bonus on any purchase of points, up to 160% through March 14th. And at least the nice thing for them, at least on this one, is that even as little as 1,000 points is going to get you 140% bonus. If you get to the 160% bonus, that's between 26,000 miles and 200,000 miles. And that puts you at about 1.27 cents per mile, which is pretty good. But we're going to talk a little bit about Avianca shortly. So something that you might want to consider, but not necessarily the best that you've ever seen. And then the last two for Marriott, 1,000 bonus points and 1 elite night credit for each night you stay. Registration is required by April 14th. Once again, I'll have the link for that. And the eligible period is between February 11th and April 28th. You do have to do this booking through a Marriott portal, not through Expedia or anything like that. And it is only for paid stays, not award stays. So that's the one downside of it. But picking up some elite nights could be helpful, especially if you are a person that is trying to get status. Maybe you have a personal card for Marriott as well as maybe a business card for Marriott. And these, if you've got some travel, you might be able to move up a tier or two. And then we have up to 45% bonus for buying Marriott points, up to 45%, and it starts at 2,000 points. 2,000 to 9,000 gets you 35%, and then 40,000 to 150,000 gets you 45% with 0.86 cents per point. Purchase period ends March 10th. So once again, Marriott is an interesting one. This is relatively competitive. So if you are a person in need of points, this may be something that you may want to consider. Then let's move to a few quick notes. First note is the first all-inclusive W. Now this is opening in Punta Cana on April 15th. 340 guest rooms and suites with either a balcony or a swim-up pool or plunge pool. There will be 13 restaurants and bars, which is a really nice number for only 340 rooms. Now the pricing is going to be what you would expect from the W though. April and May starts at $1,900 per night. and $616 in the summer. Points start at 137,000 points per night. But an all-inclusive W in that Punta Cana setting, which is pretty much so many all-inclusive hotels there, and it's a beautiful area that they're in, may be something to look at. Then JetBlue, their Blue Basic, which is their base bare bone economy, you normally could not do award bookings with that. Now it is available. Now there's a few things to remember though if you're going to use points for this. One is that ticket change, there's a ticket change penalty of $100 to $200 per person. Seats are assigned at check-in unless you pay extra, but you could get an award point stay flight from JFK to Reagan for as little as 700 points. And because of the way that points are with JetBlue, you actually get the best value when it is the lowest dollar item. So this can really get you some bang for your buck if you have those JetBlue TrueBlue points for the, and obviously that's a short distance flight, but you may want to be able to look at that. Then Alaska Lounge in Anchorage, their expansion is complete and now are open. The expansion there in Anchorage added 2,600 square feet and increased the occupancy from 65 guests to 140. Now the lounge is located in Concourse C near Gate C1. Now with that expansion though, there wasn't any additional features if that is a lounge that you frequented. So you won't necessarily see anything new there other than just the additional space and, from what I've read, some additional local art. But that expansion helps, but apparently from what I've been reading, if it is during the busy time, it's jam-packed even with that expansion. So, but every little bit helps when it comes to the lounges. And then we have to talk about the Alaska mileage plan is now getting into the experience business. And so their experiences are called Mileage Plan Unlocked. Now we've seen Hilton, we've seen American Express, Chase, as well as other credit card issuers be able to try to have you utilize their points or their miles for different experiences. And so Alaska is now dipping their toe into it. And I would definitely say dipping their toe because there's not a whole lot on there right now from what I've looked at. The redemption start as low as 10,000 miles. A couple of items, a 3-day Coachella VIP pass for 2 with shaded seating, air-conditioned restrooms. It currently has a bid of 100,000 miles. Now, we've seen Coachella listed on American Express too, and probably in some other areas. And then they have the Alaska Suites for over at the Seattle arena. So for 10,000 miles, you can have access to the Alaska Suites during the women's Seattle Storm games. I saw that they had that for a Katy Perry concert, even though that one was already sold out. It's not as robust as some other ones, but I think that if they see some utilization of it, then we may see more of it. But it's in its infancy. And then JetBlue. Now we talked about JetBlue and TAP Portugal. Might have been only last week, but definitely not more than 2 weeks ago. And I had said that at that time, flying from the East Coast or the West Coast, especially in economy, was the same low price. And I had said, how long are we really going to see that continue? Well, it's already over. But as I mentioned on this, so right now you're looking at nearly double the cost to fly economy if you're not on the East Coast. And that even includes in the Midwest as well as the West Coast. So unfortunately, we've seen that already go away, and that's unfortunate because we knew that there was going to only be a very small window before not that they caught on to it, but realized that they didn't have to have it at that price. There's also some other idiosyncrasies with it too, but that's the main thing I wanted to point out. And then Apartment 1929 is closing. We talked about this when we were talking about the planned Hawaiian lounge in Honolulu. This was it's closing on March 14th, so I shouldn't speak past tense. This lounge only seated 24 people. Service included curbside greeting by a host, priority boarding, private escort to the gate, and they had different packages, whether you were connecting, whether you were departing or arriving. The rates had started at $500 for a party of two, and then it escalated. Obviously, it had only been in business for a year-ish or so, and obviously was not going to get nearly the return. And so their focus obviously now is to move that to just an elevated type of lounge experience, but not all the way to what we're seeing Apartment 1929 was. And then lastly, Thai Airways, and I have to give credit to Loyalty Lobby that I read about through Frequent Miler. And it appears that if you're going through United's Mileage Plus program and look at flights for Thai, you will see much more availability of business and first class than apparently any other program, and that includes Aeroplan and Avianca. So if you have an interest in Thai Airlines, and especially a business or first class flight, make sure to take a look at it. But that is definitely credit to Loyalty Lobby mentioning it, and then to Frequent Miler doing some looking at it and confirming it. So I wanted to pass that on to you. And I want to go and say, hey, thanks for calling me, Lonnie. Appreciate you coming in. Just was watching his strategy page, and he has his player 2 is now completely on board. So congratulations to him. Appreciate you stopping through, sir. And then I see Matt, but a blue booking is a pain. Barely get a personal item. Yes, it is literally rock bottom from what I've seen. Not had the pleasure of flying JetBlue as of yet, but yes, you're definitely right. But maybe it'll be okay for just that short flight from a JFK to Reagan, though. And yes, Player 2, it's a celebration. It is worth it, and definitely want to hear about once you get that birthday plan in place that you talked about in your video. And so let's look at Amex Member Week. You may remember this if you have Amex cards back from 2023, and that was the last time we saw a Member Week. Now it will reappear on March 17th through the 21st. And obviously the Member Week, if you don't know, it's basically where Amex wants to showcase the perks that come with being a card member of Amex. Now the week is, as I mentioned, is for card holders, but back in 2023, there was a Member Week pass offered to potential cardholders to sample the services. We don't know if that's going to be the case this time, but if you're not an Amex cardholder and you're possibly considering it, then you may want to look out for that possibility, and you may want to even check in with American Express customer service as we get closer. Now, the banner that they show for this includes, now this isn't all of them, but they show Barnes & Noble, they show Brooks Brothers, they show Exxon Mobil Rewards, Hertz, and Hilton. So I think we can easily expect there to be certain perks and deals that are done with those. Obviously, Hertz President's Circle status comes with especially the Amex Platinum, as well as I think a couple of other cards. You've obviously got Hilton Gold status that comes with the Platinum cards, to name a few, and a Diamond with Aspire. So I think we're going to see some of that go on. Exxon Mobil, they tie into the whole Walmart perk that comes with the Platinum card. So make sure to be on the lookout for that if you have the Amex card, and even look for it even if you're not. Once again, we may see those Member Week passes. Now, there is an expectation of pre-sale offerings during the week, and what we may end up seeing is, once again, Coachella and the U.S. Open Golf Championships are possibilities. So if you are, definitely just keep an eye out things, and I'll make sure to get the word out for anything that I end up seeing as well. Now let's talk about Avianca LifeMiles with a devaluation again, unfortunately. So it has only been 6 months ago that Avianca had increased their prices up to 50% on all their award flights from North America to Europe. We now have an increase to award flights to Europe, Asia, and South Pacific for some Avianca partners. So as far as a couple of notes, Europe back in August, the economy flights basically went up 17%. The premium economy went up. I'm sorry, business, not premium economy. Business went up 11%, and then first class went up all the way up 50%. Now we're seeing that we're going from 35,000 to 40,000 miles in economy, which is another 14% on top of the 17% we saw. Then we're going from 70 to 80,000 points in business, which is another 15 on top of the 11. Now I think they figured out that they put 50% on first class last go round, so they did not increase. Does not appear that they increased the first class charge. Australia and New Zealand, you're going from 35,000 to 40,000 in economy for a 14% increase, and 70,000 to 80,000 for a 15% increase in business. Asia, 47 to 55,000 miles in economy, 18%, and then 90,000 to 100,000 miles in business for an 11%. And then I have to give credit to the points guy who identified increases to United Airlines using Avianca LifeMiles across the board. And some of the examples he showed was LAX to SFO for San Francisco has gone up from 7,500 to 10,000. And then Houston to Newark, 10,000, now 15,000. And San Francisco to Seattle, 12,500 to 15,000. And then the flight there that you see there to Chicago, 22,500 to 25,000. So definitely make sure, if you are an Avianca user, and I know a lot of us are, make sure that you have a good plan and you know about any potential changes to these award charts so that you don't get blindsided from them. And I will say hi to John. Appreciate you stopping through. Didn't realize I was already streaming. Yep, I had to adjust by an hour to make sure, because so many of us are doing these live streams, and I try not to cross over on it. So, but I really appreciate you stopping through, sir. Does an excellent job. He's trying to get to 1,000 subscribers like I am, and so does an excellent job on his channel. And Ian, hey John, yep, I hope he's doing well. Now let's talk about Hyatt. They and Playa Hotels. Hyatt has now acquired them, and so let's talk about what it actually means. So I've talked a lot of times about Hyatt basically growing that all-inclusive portfolio of theirs. And so now they have acquired Playa Hotels and Resorts for $2.6 billion. They already had a stake in them for 9.4%, so they ended up getting the 90.6% that was remaining. And so that 10% rounded up, they already had hotels in their portfolio of the Hyatt Ziva and Solara in Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, and Mexico. So, which I thought was interesting as far as the different name brands that come with Playa Hotels. Now, we can go back to November in 2021 when they made the acquisition of Apple for $2.7 billion. And at that time, they acquired 6 different all-inclusive brands from Alua, Zoetree, Sunscape, Breathless, Dreams, and Secrets. Then in October of 2024, they ended up doing a joint venture with Grupo Pinheiro, which basically has the Bahia Principe resorts, which is about, I think it's around 15 to 20 that was inclusive of. So some of the questions that might come up is, why is Hyatt going so far all in on these all-inclusive resorts and not necessarily building new hotels or new brands? And a couple things comes to mind. And one is they really appear to be establishing themselves as the preeminent authority and provider of all-inclusive resorts. And they are just continuing to push through with that and basically be the brand leader. And at this point, with Bahia Principe and with Playa, they are the breadth of what they have, and at so many different price levels, they are doing an excellent job of it. And then also, there's not really an appetite to build new hotels. And I'm sure that ends up dealing with interest rates and et cetera. But Hyatt has really tried to do a lot of things through partnerships and different agreements where they're not necessarily owning and operating. This is an interesting one because they are doing that at this time. So the Playa Hotel Resorts, they have 24 all-inclusive resorts, and they're under multiple brand names. They have Hilton all-inclusives, a few of them, Hyatt that I mentioned, Wyndham, as well as Kimpton. Now, all of the that's just to name a few of them, and they have a total of 8,600 rooms. And so Hyatt is completely doubled and tripled down on all inclusives, and I'm a huge fan of all inclusives, and because of the variety that Hyatt has, I really do like those. So that is good information that I'm hopeful that will be helpful for you all. And let's see, Mr. Cool. Bad news for those who transfer bill points on rent day to Avianca and did not book a ticket right away. Yeah, they threw that out, of course, right after that. So you're making a very good point with that. Let's move to Alaska and Hawaiian. Now, we've talked about Alaska and Hawaiian. We know that their deal went through for the merger, for the acquisition, I should say, back in September of 2024. And so what have we already seen? We've already seen one-to-one transfer of points both ways. We've seen status matching, and we've seen that you've been able to redeem Alaska miles on Hawaiian flights. So now they've kind of released, let's call it, a couple of additional benefits, and that is reciprocal mileage earning, and then mileage plan elite status members now have those select benefits when flying Hawaiian. So as far as the reciprocal mileage earning, you will earn miles when taking flights, but you just have to make sure that when you do your booking, add the frequent flyer program that you want to earn the miles in. And then for Alaska Miles Elite Flying Hawaiian, the reciprocal benefits are now active. So that includes priority boarding, priority check-in, complimentary baggage allowance, complimentary preferred seat selection at the time of booking, and access to extra comfort seats at check-in on a first-come, first-served basis. Once again, for this, you definitely want to make sure that you add in your Alaska mileage plan number when you're booking that Hawaiian flight so that you do get those additional benefits. So we're going to continue seeing add-ons of this as they continue to roll out through the year, but these are our two newest components of it. And so let's talk about Southwest and Iceland Air. This is another one we've talked about where we knew that Southwest wants to have international partners and that they were going to start with Iceland Air. And we even knew a little bit about how slow this was going to roll out, but we do have some more information. So this was announced back in September of 2024, and this is now live for Iceland Air. Now, as we previously talked about, they're only going to be going through one destination right now, and that is BWI, Baltimore Airport. There is the expectation that they will move to Denver and Nashville, but we don't have a timeline of when that will happen. Now, the bookings, though, have to be done through Iceland Air. And we know that that's going to be the case because of the technology issues of the scheduling system that Southwest is working on, which was part of the issue of why they didn't have red-eye flights, and then now to incorporate the whole new seating, assigned seating setup. So once assigned seating is implemented, then the Southwest system should be able to accommodate Iceland Air tickets being purchased on Southwest. Now, as we've talked about, Southwest is really starting slow with this. And it's not likely to be much of a moneymaker, but it is clearly an opportunity to begin this type of arrangement in a very structured kind of way. Now, more partnerships are on the way, but we probably won't really hear about these until we probably get into the middle to late this year because of the fact of that, once again, the technology. If they're not going to end up doing something, being able to do things on their system, that's going to be next year. So maybe we hear about something in the third quarter of at least the next partner flight that's going to be going a partner airline. And so let's talk about Iberia Plus becomes Club Iberia Plus. Now, it is only one word that makes a difference, but there is actually more of a difference that are going on. And before I get into this, I obviously have to say, if you're finding any benefit from this live stream and you're not subscribed, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Trying to get to that next level of getting to 1,000 subscribers, and I definitely want you to be able to join me with that in providing you the content that you may be looking for. So thank you so much. So as far as Iberia Plus, this is going to be some major changes that will happen on April 1. And this all impacts on how elite status is obtained. So elite status will go from the current status to being earned based on the number of segments flown or how many elite points you earn. And each euro of airfare spending is equal to 1 point. Now, that does not include taxes and fees that are part of your ticket, just the base fare. You can earn extra elite points based upon the class of service and the length of the flight on Iberia. So you can also earn points when you're dealing with partner brands. And we've seen this with all the airlines, whether it be with certain restaurants or certain other businesses. And there's a number of them that partner with Iberia. So for every 10 Avios that are collected, members can earn 1 elite point. Now, the spending levels, if you are a person that's trying to get to status with spending, this is where it becomes much harder for you to be able to do it. So as far as Iberia plus Oro, which is kind of on the quote unquote, I think it's the second tier for Iberia, you're doing it through spending goes basically triples from 2,250 to 7,500. And then a couple levels up, the Plus Platino essentially triples from 6,250 to 20,000. Now, what will be interesting is if you are a person that is trying to get status with British Airways, which they basically announced they were doing the same thing. And as we all know, British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus, as well as a few others, all fall under British Airways, forgot the exact title of that group. So we knew that British Airways was going to be increased starting April 1, but we were told about it back in December. So this is not a surprising thing that they did. But this could be the better program if you're a person that is doing those type of flights, because British Airways does not provide extra elite points like Iberia does based on the length of flights in the class of service that when you're flying Iberia. So if you're a person that is more that is been upset about what British Airways does, Iberia may be more of the angle that you could potentially consider. And I see that Matt says, still wish Hyatt would build another 1,000 places, houses, and regencies as soon as they can. I'm all for everything that Hyatt can do with those fixed for that fixed rate, but there just doesn't seem to be anything on their horizon other than doubling down on these all-inclusive resorts. I mean, we've been hearing about this Playa one for a few months now, and really hadn't heard about anything else that was going on. Now, obviously, they picked up, they get into the Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they ended up doing the, was it me and she or he and she ones that seem to be more based out in Europe. So we haven't seen much of that, and I don't think we're going to probably see much, but I'm all for anything that Hyatt wants to do to keep making those points as valuable as possible. And so let's move on to JetBlue's 25th birthday. And even though we are already into day 4, we do still have some ongoing sales that are going on. And there's a landing page for all of this. I will put that in the description as well. Now, so the birthday involves 5 days of sales, and we're currently on day 4. So day 1 still exists. And so that is bonus TrueBlue points. When using the JetBlue card between February 10th and February 28th, you can get up to 5,000 points. Now, the problem is this is not for just any kind of spend. It is specifically for JetBlue flights, JetBlue vacations, or something you're doing through their Paisley portal for JetBlue. And so, as I mentioned, JetBlue.com, JetBlue Vacations, Paisley by JetBlue, but it does not include the rental cars. And then if you're at a JetBlue ticket counter. So if you do have some purchases to make and you have a JetBlue card, there may be some additional points to pick up. And then on day 3, we had the ability to, and this is still going on, lock in flights and hotels with a deposit of just $25 per person. And this is through JetBlue Vacations. And if you use these different codes of essentially B day for birthday, 25, 200, 350, and 650, those are the dollars that you can get based upon those levels of spend from $500 all the way up to over $7,000. So obviously, if you already had something planned or was going to, this just once again becomes that nice sweetener to it. And then day 4, which is what's going on for today, this is for prices, lower prices on flights, as low as $79 or 2,000 points. You get to book this through February 14th, so that's tomorrow. And the travel has to happen between February 26th and June 11th. And once again, you can be able to do that through the landing page that I'll put the link on for. And then tomorrow, we have the Paisley by JetBlue, which they're really trying to promote. This will begin tomorrow. And the only thing we know about this right now is the phrase, one deal with double the fun. So hopefully we're going to see some 2-for-1 type of deals or some kind of discount for that player 2 or that second person you're going with. But once again, I'll have a link for all of that. So I want to make sure if anybody's got questions, comments, or thoughts that anything that we need to talk about or go over, want to make sure, really appreciate everybody coming out for this. Obviously had a lot of different things going on with things. And so want to make sure if we got anything, I do want to, I know at the end of the last one, we talked about very briefly of thoughts about the Chiefs-Eagles games. And that was quite a whipping that was going on by the Eagles. So wanted to make sure to throw that out as well. But if there's not anything else, anything that anyone has to bring to the table, I just want to thank you all for joining me tonight and appreciate you all's time. And my next video will be probably Sunday or Monday, and it's going to be the next phase and look at the bill card. I did a video last week to kind of talk about the Mesa and Hyatt options. And then I wanted to now really kind of bring us all the way up to speed with looking at the Reddit Q&A that their VP of Travel did, as well as the email and the questionnaire that went out to the members, and just kind of go on a walkthrough of that to bring everybody up to speed and see where we go from there. Once again, can't thank you all enough for everything, and I will make sure to get the live stream up as soon as possible with the chapters and with all of the links that we talked about. And so everyone take care and have a great evening.